So before we get into this interview, a little bit of housekeeping. Obviously, there are some directors, filmmakers, creatives that can't make it to the festival because it can be a bit of a trek, especially if you're living in America or Spain or Germany or France or wherever. It can be a bit of a trek. So what I decided to do again was to get some pre-recorded stuff done. I got on the old Zoom, StreamYards, whatever people wanted me to get onto, I got onto them. And we did some remote calls, pre-recorded stuff, awesome interviews with some great filmmakers that I can't wait for you to listen to right now. So that movie will have just played at the festival. People will have seen it. I'll try and get some live reactions from people as they're coming out so we can play some of that as well. Just because you can't get here, you should still get your Q&A, and it should still be with me because I'm the best one. You're going to be getting a few of these throughout the week, scattered around, and they're all absolutely awesome. This is Nerdly Out Loud, Nerdly TV. We are at Romford, the Romford Film Festival. We love the Romford Film Festival. We're going to continue coming back here every single year as long as they will have us. If you've been living under a rock and you have not seen this, Nerdly has got themselves into a little position where we are in partnership with Shepka Productions, The Baby in the Basket, which is a gothic horror. He's joined up with Flickering Myth to partner up and make this movie, and then they came to us and asked Nerdly to jump on board too. Absolutely, we were going to do that, and we did a crowdfunder. The crowdfunder went amazing. It's still ongoing, so you can go to Kickstarter, type in The Baby in the Basket. I'll put links all over the place. Type in The Baby in the Basket. Give £1, give £10, but only give what you can. We don't want people giving money they don't have. Please do all those wonderful things. Like, subscribe, bell, all of it. Brilliant stuff. Let's get into today's interview, which will be with whoever's in the title. But if you're not at Romford, get yourself there. Get yourself to the cinema. We are showing a smorgasbord of awesome movies. And that's us back. We are with another Q&A. I am Kevin from nerdly.co.uk. We are still inside Romford, the film festival, and yeah, we've got a pretty strong, some might say brutal, yet beautiful story that we're going to talk about here. We're talking about a short movie called Stillness with writer-director Rachel Fowler. I've been looking forward to speaking to you, Rachel. How are you today?
I am doing all right. I am in Atlanta with family, which is why, unfortunately, I couldn't be at Romford this week, but I'm thrilled to be speaking with you.
So we're going to get into Stillness a little bit in a second, but first of all, I would like to get to know Rachel a little bit. A little bit about your background, your come up into the industry, how you got in, and why you would choose filmmaking of all things.
So actually, I come from the theater. I'm an actor and director and dramaturg, and I've done a bunch of producing in the theater. And I moved to London just under 8 years ago, having left behind a really vibrant theatrical career, both in New York and in Denver. And my husband got promoted and we moved to London. So I kind of had to reinvent myself because, being a middle-aged white American girl in there's only a certain amount of call for that as far as acting's concerned. And the other thing that I was really interested in is, like in the theater, it's wonderful because it's live and you're creating community every night, right? But your career is kind of written in water because it only lives in the memories of the people who saw you. And I kind of wanted to do something a little bit more permanent. And that's why I decided to do some filmmaking, some writing, in part because I could do that alone, but then start putting out some short films as well. And this one is deeply, deeply personal, a way of me processing a very personal grief. And yeah.
And what do you prefer to do in terms of getting into the filmmaking and whatnot? But do you miss the theater?
I do miss the theater. I miss that feeling of being on stage. I miss the imaginative part of being an actor where, you know, for 2 hours you're living someone else's life and you can get completely lost in it. And there's something really amazing about that. There's sort of like magical quality of living someone else's life over and over and over again.
Mm.
Um, yeah, I hope to get back to the stage at some point, you know, in the near future. We'll see. I've got a 15-year-old daughter, and I've been sort of focusing on her, you know, and the theater is really time consuming. You
Yeah.
know, you're gone most of the time when, you know, your family would be at home because you're performing at night, et cetera. And it's but it's really, really a beautiful, beautiful thing. I really do miss it. I go to see a lot of
Yeah.
it. So I get to be on the opposite side of it, you know, and
Well, there's a lot in London. We've got a lot of places you can go and see the theatre, so that's all good.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Exactly. And I've seen a lot of beautiful stuff. And the aesthetic, you know, being American, the British aesthetic is actually quite different from the American aesthetic. So I've learned a lot about different ways of storytelling from
Mhm.
watching British theater, and the physical nuances that British actors are really, really good at. Um, yeah, it's been a great study too, you know, and I just love it.
Well,
So,
I don't know if anybody's ever actually told you this, but the Brits did invent acting, so it
oh,
stands to reason.
I thought it was the Greeks.
No, no, it was definitely us. It was definitely us. You take everything else from us, you're not taking that. So I want to talk a little bit about Stillness
Yeah,
because it's an absolutely beautiful short movie. Absolutely blew me away. We'll talk about Caitlin in a little bit because, geez, oh wow.
yeah.
Um, where it is a deeply personal story, but where did the idea that you actually wanted to put it out onto the screen and make it into something come from?
So, some of it comes from my own personal experience with grief. Um, I wrote it originally as a short story, and it was prompted by my 13-year-old nephew died in 2016 of a drug overdose, and he died on my daughter's birthday.
Oh,
So there's a lot of like really complicated, uh, great joy, great sorrow on the same
yeah.
day. And I was trying to figure out how I could untangle that for myself. And my mother had taken a picture of my sister when she saw her son's body for the first time. And it is like it's a pieta. It is like a really, really beautiful and
Yeah.
absolutely devastating picture. And I thought, "Oh my gosh, like this is witnessing at its core, right?" And I was like, "What would it be like?" Like, I was thinking, like, my mother had the wherewithal to take that picture. Like, what was going on for my mother? And just from my own experience with grief and my father dying and stuff, knowing that when you know, you need somebody who's willing to listen to your story,
Yeah.
right? Because, that's how you know that it matters. And I was like, I really want people to be better about this.
Yeah.
We get so uncomfortable with seeing somebody else in pain that it becomes about us. We go into fight, flight, or freeze. You know, we're like, ugh. And if we could just sort of set that aside and be with someone who's in pain and just witness them, then we can help them, shepherd them through the transformative nature of grief. And I actually became a grief and loss coach in 2020 too. So like this is part of my job now. And I really, this is a love letter to people who can be comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Oh, I
Yeah.
like that. I like that. If so obviously you've based it a little bit around your personal experiences and things like that.
Yeah.
I need to ask, is is this an actual thing that people do like them like the character of Rose, is that a job that they actually do?
Yes, it is. There's a charity that I partnered with in the United States called Now I Lay Me Down to Sleep that was started, I think, just under 20 years ago by a woman named Cheryl Haggard, who had a baby boy who wasn't going to live. And she knew that he wasn't going to live. And one of her dear friends, who was a professional photographer, just came and took these beautiful portraits of her with the boy. I can't remember his name. I think it's Axel, with her family with him. And they decided together, like, this is such a beautiful thing to do. They started this charity, and I actually became assistant to a photographer, and I went on a couple of sessions. So I was in the room, and the thing that was so amazing is just, I mean, yes, so much heartbreak. I wept through both of them. And but so much love. And I think with people, I remember when I was sort of shopping the script around and trying to raise money to shoot it, I would get a lot of like, why would you want pictures of a dead baby? And I'm like, I know. And I'm like, it's not a picture of a dead baby. It's a picture of your son. It's a picture of your daughter. It's a picture of your cousin. It's a picture of your granddaughter. It's a picture of a family member who just happened not to be here for a long period of time. And I really wanted to make that clear.
Yeah.
There's a charity in the UK called Remember My Baby that does this as well. And it's all volunteer professional photographers go into hospitals and whatnot and take these pictures. And it's a remarkable thing, even if you never look at them, to know that they're there. You know?
Yeah, definitely. I can see I can almost see sort of the catharsis there, in a way, definitely, and that's kind of what you capture on the screen with Stillness, and of course, casting is crucial for this story. First of all, Caitlin,
I mean,
where did you find Caitlin Fitzgerald?
So Caitlin has been a friend of mine and a collaborator of mine for about 15 years. We met in 2008 doing Shakespeare's Santa Cruz in California. I had a baby. My daughter was 8 months old when I did that. And I played Helena in All's Well That Ends Well, and she played Juliet. And we just became really, really good friends. She's directed me in a short. We belong to the same writers group, and she actually just did a show at the Donmar Warehouse, and she is about to open the Crucible on the West End. Nice. She's playing Elizabeth Proctor. She is one of the most generous, beautiful, open-hearted actors you could ever hope to meet, and just an all-around amazing human. And I'm really grateful. I'm grateful for her friendship most of all, but I love that we get to collaborate together. And she lives in London now. So I'm like, what could be better? You know, when she lived in New York and LA, it was a little bit harder for us to collaborate together, but now she lives in London. So yeah,
she's something else in this shot, and it's she's. I think I said it in a few conversations that I've had with people. It's the way that just the way she emotes. It's sort of like she doesn't have to say a single word, but I know exactly, like, she's taken the grief from these people and basically sponging it up, and then, you know, and she's just unbelievable. She's unbelievable.
I'm glad you think so. I think so too.
So what was the collaborative process with this kind of story, though? Because I'm imagining she would have to go into a certain place, you know, to get there.
Yeah. So she actually helped me develop the script because I wrote it with her in mind. And it went from, like a 20-page script to 5 pages. Really, like calling back, like taking a fine-tooth comb to it, making sure that we were showing as much as possible and telling as little as possible.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I found out when I volunteered with Now I Lay Me Down to Sleep is that the bulk of the photographers who are part of that charity have become a part of it because of a loss of their own.
Yeah.
And have wanted to give back because they're like, I know what this is. And that was something that Caitlin and I had talked about. And the rest of the cast was really, really wonderful. And because they were all actors who were open and willing to not know right? That was the big thing. I was like, I need you to not know and just react however you feel like it's going to be. But I had had conversations with each of the couples. So Caitlin and Paul, and then Sule and Rhea.
Yeah.
And, you know, just in like half an hour said, okay, let's get some backstory here, etc., so that you're on the same page and we know where your relationship is.
Ah.
So, and it just adds this richness to it, I think, you know, how Paul's character, Tom, is like looking to Rose, like, are you okay? Are you going to be okay?
Yeah.
Like, I'm nervous because I know what you've been through, what we've been through. And then for, you know, Rhea and Sule, Isaac and Olivia, to have this couple like where he just can't, he doesn't know how.
Yeah.
He wants to, but he
Which
doesn't
is
know.
which is completely understandable. You know, it's like that's what I felt like every single character in this. I mean, I've got 3 little girls myself. Luckily, all 3 of them no problems, so absolutely fantastic. So I can't really relate in that way. But when you've got these 4 different characters, and even the nurse that comes in as well, like you've got
Yeah.
these characters, they all feel like a separate part of who I would be in that situation, and it's so crazy how you've nailed each character that would make me all the different conflicting feelings that I would have. You've got characters in there that actually are those feelings. It's pretty gnarly how you did it, but I do love it.
Thank you. That is like, that is such a beautiful, beautiful thing to say. And I
I'm
am,
sorry.
I'm a little humbled by that, and really tickled too. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. What a wonderful thing to say.
So what did you do in between takes to break the tension?
So we shot this in 2 days.
Wow.
And we didn't really do a whole lot of breaking of the tension. The thing that was amazing is that everybody who had come on board with it really, you know, had a lot of them had their own personal reasons for wanting to tell this story as
Yes.
well. So there was definitely a lot of like, let's lift this up. This is a conversation that needs to be had. That's, but we were also, because we shot it in 2 days, you know, we had to keep moving. The thing that I was really, really lucky, I had an amazing cinematographer, Eve Cohen, who is a friend as well and collaborator. She and Caitlin go way back. And when Caitlin directed me in a short, Eve was also the cinematographer. So we definitely knew each other. And she is like the person you want on set. She's so calm. She's so like, let's do this, and totally in control, which made it just easy for everybody to access whatever it is they needed to access. And just like a real calming presence so that everybody could go where they needed to go. Yeah, no, I'm really like, it's really amazing to me because I've seen the film a lot, obviously. But I still am so in awe of all 5 of the performances. I catch something new each time. They really trusted me wholeheartedly, and I'm so grateful for that. And they just really dove into the not knowing, which makes them really present. And
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah.
It's one of those things that it's a difficult situation to be in. So I suppose you shouldn't really know how to act, if you know what I mean. Like it should just be crap. I'm in this. That's the way, you know, just throw them in. Improv, go for it.
Yeah, exactly.
So
And with Caitlin, we had talked about, you know, like that long take down the corridor where she's coming on her own, right? I mean, the sound design. So it's so wonderful, but you can hear her as she turns the corner, the inhale, and you know, and then she doesn't exhale really until she's done with the session at the end, and then she lets it all go. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Unreal. Unreal. There's not a lot of wasted moments in the movie. It's everything's done very, very purposeful. Your score, your cinematography, as we're talking about, and all your actors absolutely nailing their parts and all that. But when you do watch it, is there a particular moment in the movie that just hits you every single time?
There are two that really hit me. One is, and it's a sound. When Caitlin leaves the session and the door closes, you hear Isaac, and it always catches me. It always catches me. And then the very last shot of Caitlin, I love this shot so much, where it's just her face on Tom's shoulder, and her eyes are closed, and then her eyes open, and then it fades to white. And that moment always catches me too, of someone who's like, that hurt, but I'm so glad I did it. I feel like I see that just in that brief little look that she gave us. Yeah.
So let's bring the tempo up a little bit now. I know you're out there promoting Stillness and putting it into festivals and everything, and I'm sure you're getting a lot of good reports back. And what has been the best thing or the nicest thing that somebody has said about the movie after seeing it? One of the audience members, or
well, you just said probably one of the nicest things that someone has said about it, about each character being a part of how you might react. At the first film festival where it screened, the programmer came up to me and he said, "Your movie is a pearl."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, thank you." Thank you. I think that, the response to it has been really, really wonderful. And I think that there's been some audiences that have been really, really emotional. And I can tell that there are people who have in their past had something probably that it speaks to. I think that it's just, I don't know. Like, the response has been so wonderful, and it's been so, everybody's getting what I was trying to do. And are sort of inspired to be comfortable with their own discomfort.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And what's Rachel doing next? Are you got any projects you're working on? Anything that you can tell us about?
Yes. So I just submitted a BFI application for funding for my next short, which is also about grief. Big surprise.
Is that going to be your lane? Is it?
Well, do you know what? I think that it might be, actually, because everything that I'm writing right now seems to be around that theme. I'm working on a feature-length script right now as well that is specifically an imagining of my nephew not having died of a drug overdose, but like what might have happened so that he didn't fall through the cracks. And it's a little bit fantasy, like he wants to time travel and he finds this bridge that has like this magic thing, and he's got to go through it to try to find his mom and reconcile. And it's so it's definitely like sort of a young adult fantasy feature.
Not gonna lie, you had me at time travel.
Oh, good. Good. So I'm working on that, but then this other short is a little bit more. This other short is the other side of the veil. So it's, people who have died, who are trying to connect with their loved ones in the land of the living. So it's a completely different. I think it's very wistful. It's not spooky. It's so now we're working on getting funding. So BFI,
please.
Please.
I'm sure if they've seen Stillness, you've got no problems there. They will absolutely just throw money at you. So I wouldn't worry about that.
From your lips to God's ears. No, from your lips to BFI's ears.
So
Yeah.
I'm gonna start wrapping it out. But this has been absolutely fantastic, and I could speak to you longer about this movie. There's a lot of things that I would love to say that I haven't said, but that kind of breaches on spoiler territory, I guess.
Yeah.
But to end on a lighter note, because it has been a little bit serious, let's end on a little bit of a lighter note. Let's ask you a super easy question.
Okay.
You're on a desert island, and you can only have 3 movies. What are you taking with you?
Victor Victoria, which I absolutely love that movie. Singing in the Rain,
Oh yeah.
and Spartacus with Kirk Douglas.
That's an eclectic mix.
I mean, you only have to pick 3, and those are the 3 that immediately come to mind. They're movies that I've watched over and over and over and over again.
And the thing is, if I asked you tomorrow, it'd be another 3 different movies. So
probably Singing in the Rain would definitely be in the top 3 for sure. But Victor Victoria and Spartacus might be relegated for something else. Yeah. Oh, you know what? Yeah, and this is me actually trying not to be serious, because you were like, let's end it on a lighter note. But The Lives of Others is one of my all-time favorite films. If you haven't seen it, it is a beautiful, beautiful film about the power of art to change people's minds. Right. And actually, Eve Cohen, when she came over to do Stillness, she and I watched it, and she gave me a crash course in filmmaking watching the film. Nice. She was like, this is what the angle's doing. This is what the length of the take is doing. We're looking at this way. We're looking at this way. This is what we're doing, right, in terms of storytelling. Yeah.
I like that. Yeah. So before we round out, do me a favor and make my job much easier, and let everybody know where they can find Rachel Fowler, where they can find you on social media, and all that good stuff.
Excellent. Yes. So on Instagram and Facebook, my handle is Ray Beagle, RAYE, Beagle, like the dog. And I picked that name a long, long time ago because I was playing Mariah in 12th Night, and my favorite line was, "She's a beagle, true bred," whatever that means. And on Instagram, Stillness Film. So there's a separate Instagram page for Stillness, and you can also find me at rachelfowlergriefcoach.com.
Nice.
So website, and I'm, if you need help, I'm here.
And who knew those names that we chose 10 years ago were still going to be with us on the social media?
I might have chosen a little bit more carefully.
It was like, you know what, this internet thing's never going to take off.
Never. This Facebook thing, it's just for today.
It's not for me. Yeah. It's gone. It's a fad. Anyway, Rachel, thank you so much for letting us show your movie. Thank you for submitting it. Thank you for letting us show it at the cinema. I'm sure it's going to go down a storm. I reckon it'll probably be the quietest showing that we have, because I think there'll be a few sniffles, hand out hankies at the door. Yeah. But I can't wait for people to see Stillness, and thank you so much for letting us have it.
Thank you so much for screening it and for putting so much effort in getting it out there. Really, really appreciate it.
We try our best. We do try our best.
Yes, indeed.
This is a beautiful thing you're doing for this other family. Ready? It's been a rough morning. It means so much to have photos. Thank you.
What are you doing here? I told Susan no photos.